everyone. This is Andrew, the Archon Philosopher, talking philosophy to the philosopher in all of us. Today we're going to go over and complete an overview of the new theory of everything, a non-magical metaphysics and multi-consciousness ontology. And we're going to begin, I think, by trying to answer the question we posed just at the end of the last video. How can a sentient creature collapse the originary universal wave function from that time A position in the delayed choice quantum eraser experiment? And I think we'll just get right into it here. We're going to be talking about the laws of physical nature. I'll just put them right up here on the screen. And we'll get into the first panel here. And so we have the question, how did the sentient creature know how to design the structure to make the information it gained in time A into reality? So it had an impression of what it wanted. I said having dinner, could be anything. Anyway, let's appeal to Plato's use of the term demiurge in the Timaeus as the artisan of the physical world. Note that it's physical. This was interesting. Anyway, we can imagine in our world a painter, an artist, waking up in the morning and having an idea for a painting and then paint it out. And we can then ask, does the painter need to encode the laws of physical nature into that painting? And the answer would be no. The doesn't even have to understand the laws of physical nature. Just paints the painting, and whatever laws of physical nature are needed for that painting to be the way it is in the painting would just arise out, and people could discuss what they are. And normally it's just the world we see if they're doing a landscape. But if it's something surreal like Dali's bent clock, then we may have to change the laws of physical nature in order to accomplish that universe. But we are going to be talking about this universe, this lived-in world. So let's take a look at the next panel. And the painting has the content and the structure doesn't need to be explicit. It's just implicit in the painting. But in our lived-in world, what we see is we have a structure, which is the laws of physical nature, and then we have what's in the structure, which is the things in the world. In some way, this is the form and the content. And so, how to accomplish the form while only having the content in mind? Well, I'm going to appeal to law number 9 listed here. They're in no particular order, which is the translation of genotype to phenotype. This is just a name I picked because I think it's the best inroad to understand this great mystery of we have, on the one hand, we have the code of the DNA, and on the other hand, we have a living, breathing creature or animal or plant or whatever. How is this accomplished? We know in computer language we have a piece of code and we have an operating system, we have some hardware, some chips, and then we have electricity as the energy to everything, and in the hardware we upload an operating system, and this allows the data or the program to run. But what is the program, what is the operating system to allow this DNA, which is really just nitrogen, to in this double helix to morph, as it were, to translate into a living creature? Well, this is a much bigger idea than just the DNA to a phenotype. One way to think about it is Hegel's absolute spirit. This is the spirit of life. This is allowing something to be what it will be. I think we remember the Frankenstein movie where he stitched up the body, and then to activate it, he injected electricity from a bolt of lightning. Okay, but this is the force that allows something to be what it will be. And Hegel called it absolute spirit. Heidegger said it gives. So it just gives. And what it does is it gives the ability for everything in that originary imagination, a holistic artistic image, to become what it is here in the lived-in world. So we're invoking immediately the laws of physical nature to provide the structure for the content of that artistic idea. And again, it's Plato's word, an artisan, an artist of a physical world, but not these laws of physical nature. They came about because they had to come about in order to fulfill that image, that holistic artistic image of this wondrous lived-in world. Okay, let's continue on and see if we can get some insight into this. What are the laws of physical nature? Well, we had in philosophy a term, the laws of nature, and this is also true of the laws of physical nature. But these laws of nature describe those features without which this universe could not be imagined as livable. So we cannot imagine this universe without time. It just wouldn't operate and nothing would happen. We couldn't imagine it without space, and we couldn't imagine it without any of the features on this list. And so this is a philosophical understanding of these laws. And it includes all the laws of physics. We have electromagnetism here, and this is Maxwell's equations are in here, and other things. So it subsumes all of the laws of physics as it applies to the lived-in world. And in order to understand reality, we want to be able to identify the laws of physical nature and separate it from those things which are not laws, which are the things in the world we live in. So in order to do this, I thought about it, and I studied phenomenology, which is a study of experience. And so I began with experience, just our experience of this universe, and came up with this analytic phenomenology. What a term. Anyway, it's just an analysis using 4 criteria. Now, we could use more, but 4 is good. And the criteria involve not just one person's experience, because that could be a hallucination. So we have to move into a term called intersubjective. And I learned this at university. I thought it was going to be a great term. What happened? Nobody's using it. I'm using it. And it's not objective. It is intersubjective. So 2 or more sentient creatures have basically the same experience. Then we know that each of them is not hallucinating, probably. It could be a lot more than 2. It should be everyone. Everyone should agree on all of this. That's my thinking. So for both, here I go. Reality is composed of what is real and what exists. And I'm just separating those terms just to make a distinction. I know we could use both for both, and that's fine in normal conversation. But I'm just making a distinction so we can get some depth in here. So for both what is real and what exists, it has to be intersubjectively experienced. So we know we're not hallucinating or have strange ideas or whatnot. And secondly, it has to be intersubjectively measurable. And so we have to agree on what we're talking about, so we have to measure it. And this could be a very general measurement, and we'll see some examples and help us out here. And then we have 2 criteria which only apply to what I term what exists. And this is that what exists is geographically locatable in this universe. We can point to it. It's on a map. We can identify it. Maybe it's in many positions, but we can geographically locate it. And the second criteria for what exists is that we may state easily an immediate proximate causal trail. So we can just say where it came from. So to get this, let's go into some examples. And let's take an example of time, and then we'll take an example of a table. You know, I just love the simple examples. They're the best. So, what is real? So, this is the category of laws of physical nature. So, we may ask a question about each of them. And do we intersubjectively experience time? Yes. We know the difference between 5 seconds late and 5 minutes late. And then we say, can we intersubjectively measure time? Yeah, we again know basically the difference between 5 seconds late and 5 minutes late. We know this. So is time geographically locatable? Where is time? Well, I think the only answer we can say is it's everywhere. And then we can ask the question, can we determine an immediate proximate causal trail for time? What caused time? And we're just sort of confused a bit because it sort of has always been or something. We say it's always been. I guess that's it. It's sort of confusing question. Okay, and this applies to all of these laws. Anyway, we'll go to the next panel here, and we'll take the example of a table. So, do we intersubjectively experience this table? And I'm assuming you're at a table. I'll assume I'm there, or you can be here looking at my table, whatever. So, do we intersubjectively experience this table? Yeah, we both see it. That's it. We're getting it. And can we intersubjectively measure the table? Well, yeah, we can say it's square, it's brown. There, we know what we're talking about. So we can agree on this intersubjective experience and measurement. And so is this table geographically locatable? Well, yeah, just pointing right here. See, I'm pointing. There it is. I'm pointing. Okay, and then can we determine an immediate, proximate causal trail for this table? Well, yeah, I bought it at the store bought it from a carpenter, the carpenter got the wood from a tree. There, we're done. And so we've done this, it's easy, we can see it. This is how we can distinguish between the structure of the universe and the things in it. Can we ask these questions and get these types of answers? And it should be straightforward. There's a couple of tricks, but generally it's straightforward for everything we experience, all the things we experience, I should say, in the world. So this is the analytic phenomenology, a set of criteria to distinguish what is reality. Reality is both of these. And they are different from each other and clearly different. So let's continue on and look at the laws of physical nature. And here we have the 10 listed down below and the laws of physical nature at the top. As we can see, this list goes beyond the list that is provided in the laws of physics, because time, obviously, we intersubjectively experience, so we have to explain it. So this is fundamental to our experience, and thus a lot of philosophers write books on time, and I'm unhappy generally with how physicists, modern physicists and other physicists, want to treat time as some dimensionless quantity. I'm not sure even what that would be, or sometimes they have to put it on a graph because things iterate and change over time. Okay, it's there, but really it's a structure of our space. It's a structure of our field of experience in which we live. So we can, with each of these laws of physical nature, we could just as easily call it the law of consciousness nature, or we could call it the law of spatial nature, or we could call it the laws of temporal nature, and so on. We live in this type of space. We live in this type of time. We live in all of this structure. So we have a means with the translation of genotype to phenotype, which is that life force that gives us the ability to have the action that we're supposed to have. And this applies to everything in the universe. Everything has some amount of this power to give something what it is. And so, in concluding, I think I'm going to conclude this rather nice video. The last one was daunting, I'm going to say, daunting. But they are connected because ultimately, if you are at that time A as a sentient creature with the correct cognitive structures to access that structural feature of this universe, then you have information about a future universe for which a choice has not been made, and you have information about it. And so you say, yes, I want that universe. So you make a choice. As in the many worlds interpretation, you can choose heads or choose tails. Both of them are collapsed. But in this case, this is the originary wave function collapse. So you just imagine, I don't know, you're having dinner, and then suddenly you say yes to it. Then it all becomes reality. The structure becomes real to allow that image to happen. The things in the world become real to allow that image to happen. And this power is generated from, I believe, number 9, to allow things to be as they are. This whole universe has a machine that allows it to be as it is, as it were. And, of course, time spreads out, spatiality spreads out in all directions. And we'll be looking at each of these and how they have some bearing on what they've found in quantum experiments, and just how we experience them in life. And so we navigate in this. It's both in the world and in ourselves as sentient creatures who can be aware that we each have matter. We're made of matter. We have consciousness within us. It's an individuated consciousness, not the law of physical nature consciousness, which is all around and just attaches itself to every material thing, and maybe non-material things. I'm iffy on that point, but we have a lot to talk about going forward. I'm glad I finished these 2 videos. I hope if you made it through these 2 videos that you have some questions and you have some insights. The analytics here on the laws of physical nature, or as we might say, the laws of consciousness nature, temporal nature, whatever, that this holds regardless of whether you appreciate the content of the first video with the originary collapse of the universal wave function. This holds as a good definition of reality, and everyone should define reality. I think you should use this one. It begins in our own personal experience, and it begins by agreeing with other people. I like to find points of agreement, and as I continue to make videos, I hope to do that. Anyway, in closing, I'm just going to say, once we know where we are, we will know who we are, and then we will know what to do. So, thank you all, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for supporting the channel.